right, so for today's notes, we're going to be talking about difference of squares. Okay, so this is our second type of factoring. The second type of factoring, again, it is titled difference of squares. Before we get into it, we're going to actually find products. Okay, the product of x plus 4 times x minus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the distributive method to do x times x for x squared, x times negative 4 for negative 4x. Then I'm going to do 4 times x for positive 4x, 4 times negative 4 for negative 16. And then we simplify. So my final answer here is going to be x squared, then negative 4 plus 4x plus positive 4x do cancel, and then I carry over my negative 16. So here's my first example. Let's try this again for my second example. Again, I'm going to use the distributive method to find the product to multiply. So 5x times 5x, I get 25x squared. 5x times negative 1 is negative 5x. Then I do positive 1 times 5x for plus 5x, and then positive 1 times negative 1 for negative 1. Then we simplify and we make sure we write it in standard form. I have 25x squared, the 5x's cancel out, minus 1. So here's the final answer for that one. And then our third example. Same thing, we'll go ahead and use distributive, we'll find the product. So 2a times 2a is 4a squared. 2a times negative 3b will be negative 6ab. Then 3b times 2a is a positive 6ab. Notice how I'm writing my variables in alphabetical order. And then 3b times negative 3b is a negative 9b squared. Again, go ahead, combine like terms, and write our simplified answer in standard form. So we're going to do highest exponent or in alphabetical order first. So we have 4a squared, negative 6ab plus 6ab do cancel, and then I carry over my negative 9b squared. Okay, so the resulting product is called difference of squares. Now remember that factoring is the process of undoing. I'm going to be giving you our final product. Your goal is to factor and come up with what we started with, okay? Those actual factors. So to factor a difference of squares, we're going to use the following rule. Okay, so we'll go ahead and break this apart where we have a plus b times the quantity a minus b. When it's all said and done, if you have your signs flip-flopped where the first one's negative, the second one's positive, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so again, but the goal is take a look at this top part. I'm giving you the product. We're going to come up with the factors for this factoring of difference of squares. So when we are working with these difference of squares, what we're going to be looking for is we're going to be looking for the square root. Okay, and so this is why we worked with all of those simplifying our radicals, is to make sure that we can find the square root. So when I come up with this answer right up here, what I was doing is I was finding the square root. So if I take a look at my first example, number 1, to find the square root here, the square root of a squared is going to be a. And I'm going to write that in both of my parentheses. The square root of 4 is 2. And then the last thing I need to do is put in my signs. And that's my final answer for number 1. Nothing more. It does say check your answers by FOIL. FOIL is an acronym for distributive property, first, outer, inside, last. So you would do your first, a times a is a squared, your outers of a times negative 2 for negative 2a, 2 times a, that makes it cancel, and then 2 times negative 2 to get that negative 4. So again, for number 2, we are going to be doing the square root. When we do that, and this is really what I do, is I put in my skeleton of my parentheses. So the square root of c squared is c. The square root of 100 is 10. And then c plus 10, c minus 10. Okay, and that's it for my final answer. Let's go ahead and move on to number 3. So number 3, again, we're finding the square root. My final answer here, square root of x is going to be x. The square root of 64 is 8. Okay, and then we also have x minus 8. Again, double check your answer by redistributing. So x times x, we get the x squared. 8 times negative 8 is that negative 64. 8x and negative 8x cancel out. Number 4. So for number 4, same thing. We're going to go ahead and find the square root. Square root of 81 is 9. Square root of x squared is x. We have x plus 9, x minus 9. Okay, that's it for that one. Number 5, I have k squared and 25. Now I would think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and find the square root, but this is the thing, is it's not going to work here. So the reason it's not going to work is I have this plus sign. Okay, so real quick, if we come up and take a look at our final answers up here, all of my answers in the middle, they all had a minus, right? Okay, this works because we have this minus, and again, take a look at our factors, see how it matches up with our product. There's no way where if I have a plus sign right here that I could factor this. So since this is unfactorable, this one is called prime. I'll let you guys know right now, so go ahead and circle number 5. You are going to see a problem like number 5, quiz or test. I'm going to be sneaking that in there, that you are paying attention to the signs, okay? So again, mark that this one is important. Let's go ahead and try number 6. So for number 6, again, we'll find the square root, and of each, we're going to have 1 plus 4y. I'm sorry, I wrote 4, 7, or said 4, but it's 7, and then 1 minus 7y. So again, finding the square root of each one. Okay, and then notice that it's just getting a little bit more complicated where I'm adding some more coefficients here. So, but again, we're taking a look. We see we have 9b squared minus 100. This is factorable. We go ahead and find the square root of each one. The square root of 9b squared is 3b. The square root of 100 is 10. And then we just make sure we have the appropriate signs in there. Number 8, same thing, 16a squared minus 21. We are going to go ahead and do difference of squares, so we're finding the square root. Square root of 16a squared is 4a. The square root of 121 is 11. Make sure you just have the appropriate signs. Now for number 9 is our first example where we're getting some variables that are not 2. So remember, when we are finding the square root here, okay, when we are simplifying these radicals, we're taking, when it's a square root, we're dividing by 2. So for my answer for number 9, 36h squared, the square root of that is going to be 6h. For 25g to the 4th, well, the square root of 25 is 5. G to the 4th, again, we take that 4, we divide by 2, so we get g squared. If I want to check my work, 5g squared times negative 5g squared, I get that negative 25g to the 4th. Okay, so number 10, again, we're going to find the square root of each. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of y to the 6th, again, I'm going to take that 6, divide by 2, I get y to the 3rd. The square root of 1 is 1, and then fill in with the appropriate sign. So don't forget those signs. You would lose points if you didn't have it. Number 11, what do you notice here, where if I try and take the square root on this one. I can find the square root of 4c squared, but I cannot find the square root of 5. So this is another example of prime. Okay, so they do sneak in there. And again, the reason it's prime is right here. Cannot find the square root of 5. Now number 12 is our last one. We can go ahead and find the difference of squares on this one. K, the square root of k to the 10th. Again, we're going to take that 10, divide by 2, so we have k to the 5th. The square root of 144 is 12. And fill in the appropriate signs. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions about this. The back, there are more examples, but we'll do that next time I see you in class, because we're starting the multi-step factoring, where we're going to, it gets a little bit more complicated, but I know you guys can handle it. But again, we'll do that next time I see you. All right, that's it. Thanks.